Welcome to Democratic Television, a program of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party that brings insights, perspectives, and attitudes of our always thoughtful Democratic guests. Today we have with us Senator Jim Beall. Senator Beall, thank you so much for being with us today, and I'd like to give you a big congratulations for just being elected to the California State Senate.
Yeah, it's my first week of office.
That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
So you were first elected when you were 27 years old to San Jose City Council.
That's right.
Then you were elected to the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, California State Assembly after that, and now California State Senate.
Yeah, I'm a veteran.
I'm wondering if you could just take a few moments to tell us when you initially in your 20s decided to run for office, what was it that inspired you to run for the San Jose City Council?
That's a great question. I was a young person that really wanted to make a difference. I think when I was in high school, I decided my life would be for public service. And I didn't know how that would happen, but it turned out that I got on the San Jose Planning Commission when I was 24.
Right.
And then I decided to run for the City Council after serving 4 years on the City Planning Commission. I think the local commissions are good ways of kind of training elected officials to serve on when they come to a point where they're elected. I think that's really good training, and that's what happened with me as a young person. So I really wanted to make a difference in San Jose, and did a lot of great stuff there, and moved on.
And you did do a lot of great things for San Jose, Santa Clara, and now also for the state. You've worked in so many different issue areas, and we find ourselves now in a really fortunate place as Democrats where we have a supermajority in the Senate, the legislature, and we also have a Democratic governor. So are there some things now, looking at how you have a supermajority, that you would really like to focus on that you think you'll be able to accomplish?
Well, we have Prop 30 that passed, and that kind of stabilizes the budget and also stabilizes funding for education. So I think right now the focus is on making education stronger and better in our state, and I think we're going to be looking at that over the next several years probably, and working on education, building it up.
Do you have some ideas in education on what you think with the budget, and Prop 30 kind of brings things, stabilizes the public school system of where it is right now. Are there some ideas on what you think you can really do to, I don't know if it's a funding matter or some sort of other support that we can provide our schools?
Boy, now that we have the 2/3 vote in the legislature, I think we can do a lot of things. I think funding is one of them, allowing bond measures and local parcel tax measures to fund the operating expenses of schools. We're at 47%, 47 of 50 states, and we need to raise the amount of money. So the local parcel taxes are the way we do it in California. We also need to look at state funding for education to sort of equalize and develop some kind of parity for kids that need a little extra help in their education, special ed, English second language. We need to have funds for those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of work to be done, and we also have to make sure that the quality of public education is higher and improved. Right now, there's a lot of talk about things like charter schools and things like that.
Right.
What we really need to do is focus on making the public education system stronger in California, and that's what we're going to try to do.
And a lot of that is for the K through 12 and early education before kindergarten. What about the higher education, our community colleges, our UCs?
Well, if we don't have a good system of higher education, I think, our economy is going to fail, because we have a shortage, we estimate, of 1 million trained jobs that we won't be able to fill at the rate we're graduating people from our colleges in California. So we really need to have a new master plan for higher education to expand the community colleges, to make the tuition at the UC and the CSU system lower if possible. And we tried to do that last year with the Middle Class Scholarship Act. It didn't quite make it through the Senate.
What did that do?
Well, what it did is it took a tax break that was given to corporations that had offshore investments. It was Proposition 39.
Okay.
And it took that money and it gave it a reduction in tuition for California State Universities, community colleges, and the UC system. So there'd be significantly lower tuition for those students. Right now, a lot of the students, of course, go out and get huge loans, and that's how they finance their education. And that is not I think it's not a morally correct thing for us to allow to happen. We should have a public education system that's really public.
Was part of that to look at the middle class family as far as California middle class versus the rest of the country?
Well, I think it's focused on California, the students that are qualified to go to college, making them go to college and getting that added value to their lives that college brings. Economic value, but also social and cultural values that you get out of being a college graduate.
Right. And so part of education are the teachers and the faculty and pensions, and there's been a lot of discussion around pensions as a whole, not just in education. Can you talk a little bit about pensions, and is there some reform that you guys have already done in the legislature that you'll see continuing?
Well, I think Governor Brown has taken the lead on a lot of this issue of pension reform, and the legislature supported him to a great extent with AB 340 that passed last year. It saves something like $45 to $65 billion over a 30-year period for employees of public institutions. So that has been done. For state employees, we've had negotiations with the state employee organizations, and it's saved over $700 million in state employee pension costs. And we really need to focus on creating a good pension system, a stable financially pension system, but one that doesn't bust the budget. We can't have the budget ruined by exorbitant, out of control pensions. So we have worked with the employee organizations, the labor unions, negotiating some pretty good pension reform measures.
Do you have some specific examples of what you think a good pension plan would look like?
Well, I think sharing of cost, I think, is important. I think you have to have the concept of not funding it to a point where you don't have the revenues coming in. You can't sustain the cost of the pension program. You have to have more of a balanced budget approach to the pension program. And I think just sort of controlling the increases, having a fair increase, one that keeps the costs low but fair increases. And then I think for the ones at the top, the higher pensions, avoiding things like spiking, increasing your pension in the last couple years for the higher paid employees, the $100,000 or more employees.
Right.
And we have to stop that. So we developed that kind of reform in AB 340, and we hope to implement it over the next year or two.
There's been some tension between some of the Democrats in the legislature and our Democratic governor who haven't quite seen eye to eye on everything. How do you see moving forward as a supermajority working with the governor?
Well, I think there's a lot of commonality between the governor and the legislature on a lot of issues. I think everybody wants to help education. That's the first thing I'll say. Other things are things like the environment. Let's make the environment better. Let's do some things for the environment in our community. The global warming issue is an important issue for Californians. We have to reduce our air pollution. In Santa Clara County, the #1 reason why children go to the emergency room is asthma attacks. And air pollution is a major cause of that. So we have to focus on some of these issues for health reasons.
Do you see some ways that we can help with the air quality?
Well, we passed AB 32, and we instituted this standard that we're going to lower the amount of air pollution overall in California. We're going to step it down, hopefully get to 30%, 50% lower air pollution in California.
Is there a specific date when that has to be done?
Well, we're going to have a 2020 and then a goal for 2030.
Okay.
And some people are looking at how we can improve that with more renewable energy, solar, wind, those kinds of things can really help. So that's we're going to promote those kinds of industries. The green industries in California is a really good economic investment for the state of California. So we're focusing on those green industry. United States, the green industries for energy are a bigger industry now than the coal industry.
Wow, well that's great. In what ways are you going to be able to help get them out into the general public?
Well, give the basic homeowner, an incentive to do energy conservation, solar energy, that kind of thing. I think giving an incentive for the companies that supply energy to go to renewable energy, and conservation. We have to do things to lower our energy use in our own lives. How we live. And then I think the big one, air pollution, automobiles. Electric cars, we have Tesla in our area. It's creating a lot of jobs. What about a car that everybody can buy that can get 200, 300 miles on a battery?
Yeah,
so
great.
we think things like that could happen here in Silicon Valley.
Well, with the electric car, there have been some questions about if you have one, where are you going to plug it in? How long will it last? Are there some state ideas about kind of putting more stations throughout the state, and what does that look like?
Well, and I think it was like 3 years ago, it's actually something that Governor Schwarzenegger actually proposed, and the Democrats supported. A good example of cooperation between political parties. That we should have more stations for electric vehicles, and that's being instituted in California.
Have you seen some locally?
So we're starting to. A lot of the new buildings that people have, the parking garages and so forth, have plug-ins. It's become quite a common thing in a parking garage in a lot of the buildings that we have, and parking facilities. So I think when you go to work, you can plug your car in now in a lot of places. And I think that's good. I think people could plug in things at their home, and then we can have it at work, and that takes care of it, I think.
There have been some PG&E sponsored home upgrade plans. Is the state looking at some additional sponsored plans? I know a lot of those ran out of money really quickly, which is a great sign that people are interested in improving their home structures. So there are more state issues that you know about?
Well, we did a bill 3 years ago. It was AB 811. And what this does is allows the cities who give the building permits to issue municipal bonds. And the tax-exempt bonds are used to finance home improvements for energy conservation. In other words, we as a community think it's a wise investment for everybody to focus on saving energy and reducing the amount of energy, not just in our home, but for our whole community.
Right.
So this would give a tax-exempt financing, and then the payment would be put on the property tax bill.
Oh,
so
great.
you would say you did $20,000 worth of solar energy improvements on your house, you could put that on your property tax bill and pay it off over a period of time, 10 years or so. And it'd be a tax-exempt financing.
Right.
Those kinds of tax credits, tax-exempt financing, those kinds of access to capital to do the solar improvement are the next big step that we have to take. We have to move in that direction. And we're talking in San Jose, having every home in San Jose be green.
That's great.
That's our green goal for San Jose.
I certainly look forward to seeing that in San Jose. We're going to take a break for just a moment, and then we're going to come back and hear more from Senator Beall.
Hello, my name is Clark Williams, and I'm Vice Chair of the Santa Clara County Democratic Party. I'm a lifetime Democratic activist, but there are not enough of us, and I know you're out there, and we need you to join me. I'm also a father, and I'm teaching my 6-year-old daughter to also become a Democratic activist. She needs some friends to join us too. So if you're out there and you've got kids and you're looking for something fun to do on a weekend, we really need you to come join us in helping elect Democrats in 2010. To find us or to learn more, contact area code 408-445-9500. Or you can also find us on the web at www.sccdp.org. I hope to see you soon on the campaign trail.
Welcome back. We're here with California State Senator Jim Beall. And Senator Beall, we were talking about the environment and improvements that can be made. And one of the big improvements for air quality is to get people out of their cars. And so can you talk a little bit about what's going on with our public transportation?
Well, what we're doing right now in Santa Clara County is we're building BART to Santa Clara County. It's under
Right.
construction. 4 years from now, we'll have it essentially to Berryessa Road, the flea market. Everybody knows where that is.
Right.
So we'll have BART to there. Then the next stage that we really have to get funding for is to put BART, and it would mainly go underground to the downtown train station through downtown, and then north to Santa Clara's train station, and a connector to the San Jose airport.
How long would that take?
So if we got the funding, it would take a matter of 45 years to build it. So, I figure I'm going to be trying to do this. This is
Right.
going to be something that I'm very interested in. I was the chairman of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. I know the funding and how the money comes in from the federal, state, local governments. I think we have to package our funding and get the project done.
Right.
And it can be done. It's a good project. It would really make a difference to get people out of their cars.
That would make a
Create
big
a
difference.
different environment here. I mean, we'd have transit that goes all over the Bay Area.
Right.
That would be wonderful for people.
And there was talk about a train down to LA. What's the progress on that?
Well, we got something that's very important to our area, and this is why it's important. It will electrify all the Caltrain line from San Francisco down to San Jose, so we
Okay.
won't have the diesel trains anymore.
Great.
And that will help with air pollution, but it adds about 10 minutes in savings. Subtracts 10 minutes from the time to get to San Francisco. So it would, the more quicker you can make the trains run, the more riders.
Great.
So we're going to have an increase in ridership. People start to get out of their 101 misery or their 280 misery.
Right.
Take the train.
I'd like to get on that train.
Take BART. If if we had BART, we can get out of 680, 880.
Right.
Think about it, everybody. 280.
great.
We don't have to take those horrible transportation experiences. We can get on transit.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, earlier we talked about education and the budget for that. And I've heard you talk about how a lot of the state funding goes to prisons. And I know that part of your work has been to improving our prison system and then also keeping criminals out of prison to begin with, so stopping kids from becoming criminals. Can you talk a little bit about your work in that area?
Well, I think my work in the criminal justice area is trying to get some reform. And criminal justice system, I visited now 10 prisons. The last one I went to was San Quentin.
Wow.
I spent some time there, took a tour, went to death row, some of the things that are going on there. We find every time we visited the prison, we talked to wardens, they say, well, if you can just have a good mental health system and a good alcohol and drug abuse treatment system,
Right.
we can have less people in the state prisons here that we have. All the wardens say this.
Right.
And I think we need to have a better system to take care of the chronically mentally ill that are on our streets. And they often have, addition to mental illness problems, drug and alcohol abuse problems.
Right.
So we haven't tackled that issue, and I've been trying to deal with that in the Assembly. It's very difficult because it's not a politically popular subject, but quite frankly, let's look at it this way, folks. This is what takes a lot of our money out of education. So every dime spent on these kind of untreated people that go to prison at $50,000 a year in the state prisons, that's money taken out of our kids' education.
Right.
So let's do something about this to help fund education. It's all related. The budget is mainly education, incarceration, and we say medication.
Oh.
So health and human services, criminal justice, and education are the three main parts of the state budget. Where do you want your money spent?
Right.
Well, the top priority should be education.
And that makes a lot of sense. Have your fellow assembly members and senators been going to the prisons to visit them as well?
Some of them, I've done it more than anybody else in the legislature, and I will continue to visit prisons and talk to the wardens and the staff and even the inmates.
So we need to encourage some of your
Yeah.
your other members in the legislature to go out there too, so they get a better understanding like you
Yeah, and
have.
I think we need to understand the relationship between the criminal justice and some of our social problems. For example, we have about 14,000 women in the state prison system, but we have of those 14,000 women, there's about 5,000 children that they have that are in the foster care system.
Oh, so what's happening to them?
So we need to realize that if somebody is not capable of taking care of their child and they're going to prison, that child will be put into the foster care system. So there's a relationship. So what I say to people is keeping the family together, and that takes everybody in the community to be involved.
Right.
It takes community organization, the schools, and the churches, and everybody to get involved in making families survive in this world. So we have to kind of all work at it, and the government systems have to work at it and work towards treatment, prevention, and education of these issues.
And you've worked a lot with creating some laws to help those that are in the foster care system. Can you talk a little bit about your legislative work there?
Well, when I was a county supervisor, I met this young lady, and she told me, that she was going to turn 18, and she wanted to go to San Jose City College, but she didn't have any money because she was turning 18.
Oh.
And she said, I don't want to be homeless, so the only choice I have is to go back to my family.
Right.
And she said, well, my dad was the one that was abusing me.
Oh, gosh.
So she had a situation where she had some really bad choices for her. So what we did is that spurred me to extend the age from 18 to 21 in terms of the foster care system. And what we found is if we extend the age to 21 and try to find relatives to place children with, familiar faces, not stranger faces.
Right.
We can really have a better outcome for the child, and saves us homeless. 22% before went to prison. The foster kids. The majority of our people in our state prison have been in the foster care system.
Wow.
So we really have to focus on how this all fits together, and do a lot of prevention. Focus on the children.
And focusing on the children, are you doing some work in that early, the preschool phase, trying to get some kids into there?
Well, I think one of the things we all know in terms of schools is the special ed cost and the expenses of not only caring for a child, but also health care for the child as well as education. We should have a better link in the schools with health care and education. They should work together as a team,
Right.
and work at reducing the number of kids born with disabilities. As a parent of somebody that's my stepson, has been born with developmental disabilities, I'm very aware, because a lot of other parents have come to Pat and me and talked about what are we going to do, how can we get services, and it's very difficult. It's a very tough thing. We have the big problem with families that have children with special needs. You know what that big problem is divorce.
Right.
So it's tough to be a parent of a kid that has special needs. And it breaks the family up in a lot of cases. So we need as a community to provide more support for those families.
Right.
And I keep emphasizing keeping the family together. Family unification and prevention is the best answer to a lot of these problems.
And I think one way, and this is a minor thing, but to keep a family happier and together is to get them outdoors and being active. What kind of work have you done and seen in our community here to get families outside?
Well, we created that open space district and the county park system, and I'm very proud of continuing the efforts on county parks and open space. And one of my dreams as a lifelong resident of the area, and my dad who grew up in the Los Gatos Hills, I'd love to have the open space in the hillsides around the valley preserved for public use. So I'm hopeful that as a state senator, I can work in the communities to preserve the hillsides for public use and have a wonderful open space system in our county. And so I really focus on the Santa Clara County Open Space Authority, the Mid-Peninsula Open Space Authority, and the Santa Clara County Parks and Recreation System. And we really need to focus and support those organizations as a community.
How about our state parks?
Well, I think the state parks we have some wonderful state parks. If you've ever been to the Grant Ranch or Castle Rock or the local state parks that we have in the area, you know that we have some fantastic state parks. Just over the hill, the first state park was Big Basin. So we have some wonderful places for people to go, and we need to expand and mainly support the operations and maintenance of those state parks. So that's what I'm going to work with Resources Secretary John Laird, who used to be our Santa Cruz assemblyman, person I've known for many years. We'll work on that and make sure the park system is a good system.
Do you see a bike trail, bike path happening that can kind of link all of the different areas together around here?
Well, we need to have an urban environment where people can really, basically not use their car. That's one of the keys to no pollution. Transit, bike, walking, getting around, having a community that is able to function in that way. We call it sustainable community. That's one of the key ways we can reduce energy in our community, is to have that kind of community. So we need to have good urban planning, and as a urban planner before I became an elected official, I strongly believe in that. That's my background. I'm actually an urban planner, and I think the work that the planning commissioners and the city councils are doing to make our community more livable and breathable is very important. And we have to think long term. Like, our long term goal should be to have zero net energy use in our communities. That should be a long-term goal. And we'd try to achieve that in our community.
Well, that's great. You have done so much fabulous work, and I look forward to the next 4 years and hopefully 8, because we're going to work to get you elected to a second term for the State Senate. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for watching Democratic Television. Give us a call at 408-445-9500 or visit our website at www.sccp.org. Thank you so much for watching our show today, and have a great Democratic Day. Yeah.